Ghost Productions presents Joe Bishop from Bishop Backwoods Survival. Today I'm going to teach you how to build a snare. I'm going to call this one the Cosmic Snare because someone on their channel was asking about how to build a snare one time. I told them I'd build one, and they go by Cosmic. I'll show you what all you're going to need. All right. This here is a piece of aircraft cable. It's got a stopper on it, and that stopper actually happens to be a nut that's been squashed over the top of it. The threads are biting down on there. You're gonna need a washer to go right there. There's different ways to build this part here, and this is pretty much a swivel heavy gauge wire, and what that does is stop it, and when you anchor it to your tree, it spins around like that there, so it don't mess your snare up later on when you catch an animal. The other thing you're gonna need is another washer. And you see that washer there? It's got a hole in the middle, but it's got a hole drilled on each side of it. And when you drill them in there, after you get done with that, you're gonna take them, bend it into a 90, and I'll show you why here in a minute. This is actually your lock, the washer is. So I got one pre-done. And you thread your aircraft cable through it like so. That's what it should look like. Now you gotta put a stop on the end of that. And like I said, another nut will work perfect. I'll put my nut on there like so. I'm gonna try to get to the end, but not right on the end, because it's got to grab. This is an important part here. Okay, so when you get done with it, lock it in place. And like I said, that's a lock. What happens is when the animal gets caught in it, you see how it's locked on my arm? They ain't getting that off. They may gnaw their arm off, but they're not gonna get that off there. I mean, it's locked in place. You can see how much it, I can flex all I want, it ain't doing anything. Excuse me. What makes my snare different than most snares that you're gonna see is I can use it this way over a trail, but I like to use a spring pole. So I make my snare the size I want it. What I'm gonna end up doing, I'm gonna add this nail somewhere right up in there. And I'm gonna take some, that's a hog ring. And I wish I had my pliers. I don't know where I put them at, but I can probably make do without it. Probably not as easy, but if you're in a survival situation, everything ain't gonna be easy. Right back. I got a pair of pliers out there. They ain't squashed. tap it on there with. Alright, so now I got my nail in there. You're going to ask me why. There's another piece of this, and I normally make mine out of metal, but you can make it out of wood. And what's going to happen is I'm going to drive a metal rod into the ground. It's got a washer welded into it. And what happens is whenever I put this on my spring pole, which is a sapling, I pull it down and I hook this underneath the washer that's on that piece of rebar. And what happened is this thing's wanting to keep flipping up like this here. So that's where you come up with have a treadle stick, and you make a treadle stick out of anything, but I like to make them out of these this arrow cane or river cane, whatever you want to call it, and cut a piece of it out, and you put a groove on each end. And what happens is that nail is now trying to flick against this, and you have another stick. And I'll demonstrate this. I'll sit there and I'll set this thing. And what's happening, it's trying to push against it. You bait this here, and with that groove being there, you can bait it, and it's going to make it harder for it to get out. And if you use like sardine juice or whatever, it'll get inside there, and the animal's going to try to sit there and get it out, which is going to set this trigger off. And what happens is whenever he puts pressure on it, this thing slides off the head of that nail, and then it releases the spring pole. So I pretty much got my snare built, and now I'm going to go set it. So I'm Joe Bishop, Bishop Backwoods Survival. If you ain't practicing skills, when it comes time to use them, you won't have them, so get out and practice.